Monday. You always got to work that yawn out nice and early on the Monday morning. That way you can have a good productive day at work.
It almost looks like it could rain.
Most Mondays I wouldn't ask for a rain, but this week's a little bit different. We do have a full work week ahead of us, but as I said in the end of the last video, we are still in a little bit of a need for moisture on our crops. That way they can finish up strong. Oh, and before I forget, thank you guys for getting the YouTube channel to 5,000 subscribers. I really appreciate that you guys keep tuning into the videos and showing your support. Because I am a man of my word and we did have an agreement, I'm going to show you guys in the next few weeks a tour of all this fancy green and yellow equipment parked inside the machine shed.
And I may even add in some of the supporting stuff like the augers, the drive over, maybe the bins, other things. I still don't know why they put the top strap high up enough that you have to have a ladder, but they are big doors. We've got a little bit of time to kill this week, so we're going to change oil in both planer tractors. They're not going to be used at all this fall, but that way when it's cold this spring, we don't have to get them out and change them. It's easier to change the oil when it's 80 degrees as opposed to when it's 20 degrees. Count your days, oil. Maybe even seconds.
Also, it helps to have these tractors ready just in case something goes wrong with, let's say, one of our 9R tractors. Although this is not the ideal tractor for the grain cart, like I've said, it is an adequate replacement. If we have anything go wrong at all, it's just nice to have some of these bigger tractors ready. I can tell this is Dad's planer tractor. It has a certain smell to it. Kind of sweaty is how I describe it. We'll consult the archives. 12/31 on November 30th, 2019. 1,300 hours. What? This tractor right here only had 70 hours in the field, probably because it was hooked up to the exact emerged planer. There's one reason it'll pay for itself other than its performance in the field: cost savings on tractors. I feel like I shouldn't drive very fast. We just waxed this tractor. Chris is over there washing his mowing tractor. Okay, complete disregard everything I just said. I told Dad that it only had 70 hours on it and he did not want to change it till this next spring. Instead, we're going to get the S670 out, hook up the one draper that we're trying to find the error codes on at the end of last week, and see if we can find a specific number to replace that part.
That's going to involve moving at least 2 more tractors. This is why I wanted to park it like this and not in there like that.
Another day of the John Deere tractor shuffle.
I guess he's going to try to squeeze it by this 9460R. Steers are a tricky beast. Honestly, makes me kind of uneasy when he drives the combine around. You think after 50 or 60 years of driving these combines, you'd understand how much of a hassle they actually are to move around with the auger sticking out the back like that, but no. If you remember in the last video, we were trying to locate that error code. We couldn't find it in the memory bank of the combine, so we're going to hook it up and run it, hoping to find that error code. Sucks up, ready to run. We're trying to find the specific error code because there's 3 different belt speed sensors on this combine, and they're like $500 parts, so we're not just going to preemptively buy one.
Here. 3004.01.
LC1 3004.01. That did not turn out well at all. LC1 3004.01. Hopefully that's a cheap fix. Usually I just have to stumble my way through the menu before I find all these settings. I've seen it do that a million times, and it still fascinates me every time. That's where it'll sit so I figure out what that code means. I'll put this mistake away. Back where it belongs.
I still think we should change them, but I'm not in charge. 70 hours though is really not that much. The auger wagon would actually require a lot more hours on the tractor than the planer would at this point. That's a very time-intensive job, especially if you leave the tractor running while you're waiting. This is what working with families is like, especially your dad. He says one thing and then does something completely different. At this point, it's just a guessing game. He's now going to put the combine in the barn. Role, although it doesn't seem like it. Having one extra person looking around doing a lot of damage. That looks pretty cool parked there. Good thing we don't have a 35. I changed the leaky plug on this connection. Looks like a snap ring. We determined it was this head by running the combine on the other head, and they did not leak, so it has to be coming from this way. Got the line unplugged.
There's a snap ring holding it on. Basically just sits in that bracket. Alright. Yep.
Here, let me show you something. Now squeeze those two together.
Flip it.
It would help.
There's the old one. Hopefully that was the one that was leaking. That is a very beefy ripper. This thing will move a lot of soil in a month. Does anyone want to come run it for us? There's some ripper points. Spreading some winter wheat on our lot where the house was. I'll do my part too. They'll probably have us harvesting this next spring. If anyone was looking for a nice place to park their RVs, we got all the amenities here. Utility hookups, septic system, and an old raggedy tire swing. What more could you ask for? Spreading the last of this wheat on the little rock check that our neighbor installed out here in between our farm and a farm that they grow on. Very nice. They may have a career in dirt work. We hand seeded some grass out here about 2 to 3 weeks ago, but I don't know if it was a lack of rain, a lack of incorporation. Haven't seen much yet. Hopefully we do get a rain before the birds come out here and start eating this wheat seed. I actually saw something on Twitter a few minutes ago that said that this August has been one of the driest on record. I don't think it was necessarily number one. I think the record goes back 128 years, but we're in the top 25% of driest August, especially down here in the southeastern side of Illinois. Although I'm still in central Illinois, I usually get grouped with that southeastern category. You should start a mowing company.
Yeah, that's what I want. More work.
Well, you bought 2 mowers. What'd you expect? We need to hang up our sign somewhere. I've scavenged through all 3 auto parts stores in town looking for a specific type of Turtle Super Hardshell wax that Dad and Jeff like. Haven't found it anywhere yet. So I'm hitting up the old trusty Roll King. Roll King saves the day. I should have just came here first. They had the selection of wax I was looking for and 2 cans of WD-40. Dad bought me one because he used my personal supply. He just doesn't know it yet. Please rain. I really don't want to wax these tractors. And these mid-May planted 3.7 Don Mario soybeans probably getting a little thirsty out here on more of our marginal ground. These clays don't dry fast and they don't hold a lot of water once they are dry. We're gonna wax some of our other utility tractors. This one just stays parked out here at Edna, along with these old grain trailers. Why do we have so many mowers? Don't ask. I think you could manage your whole farm with one batwing mower. I'm not the boss though. Hey, I heard if you like the video, wax dries faster on tractors. Try it for yourself, let's see. That's the way they're meant to look. I'm trying to get this wax off and go home. Not the greatest waxing weather. Sun is hiding behind the clouds, but you can see a little bit of its light. I was hoping this weather would turn into a rain, but I do not think that's going to happen. Waxing the tractors is kind of like going for a run. You really don't want to do it, and it kind of stinks while you're doing it, but once it's done, feel great about it. The John Deere green and yellow has a lot of beauty. Myself though, as they say, you can shine a turd, it's still a turd. I'm really hoping this rain doesn't hinder us from getting a fair comparison of these enlist beans to our extend beans. That one's still wet from washing it off. It probably won't get waxed till tomorrow. John Deere sending a tech out tomorrow to work on this beast. I gave them the code, so they're going to be able to tell us what Draper speed sensor is wrong, replace it, and then I believe it has to be timed in accordance with the belt. That's why we're having a tech do it, because we're not sure exactly how to time these belts. You do not want these belts to be messed up. If something happens, if that speed sensor doesn't read right, you get a belt jammed, those motors keep running, you're going to be replacing the belt. And if I recall correctly, these are a couple grand a piece on each side. There are some occasions where you're not better off stumbling your way through a project. You call in the experienced professionals. Although they're expensive, they will get it done right, hopefully. But it's quitting time today. Let's close the barn up. Tomorrow, I'm hoping maybe we'll hook up the grain cart. I'm not entirely sure about that, but we should hook up our 2 rippers. So we'll get those 2 9/460Rs out, get the ripper over there, get the ripper here, change the points on them, and they'll be field ready. Sweet dreams. So on my way to Shelbyville for a meeting, which is about 20 miles, 25 miles, give or take, straight to the west of Mattoon. I stopped by our farm in Windsor, which is about 5 miles-ish shy of Shelbyville, to look at our 3-1 beans, one of our earlier season beans that we planted. Starting to see some yellowing out here in the field. As you start to see senescence or physiological maturity of soybeans out in the field, you'll see a lot of yellow, different shades of green to yellow to brown out in the field. When you start to see large swaths out here of yellow leaves, you know you have about 2 weeks, give or take a little bit, for them to be harvestable. That's actually a pretty good guideline for how long it's going to be until you get the combine out here. So I'd say we're just north of 2, maybe 3, somewhere in that range before I think these soybeans will cut. That being said,
Something very important to note is we had a lot of early season water damage out on this farm, and I ended up replanting maybe 30 or 40 acres, something ridiculous out here. I came back out and replanted 3-1 beans out here, but planting date does play a role in the maturity of soybeans. I couldn't explain to you why exactly that is, because they do supposedly mature based on day length alone, photo period as some people call it. A 3-1 bean planted the second week of April and a 3-1 bean planted the second week of May do not mature the same. There is some kind of vegetative factor involved. I'm not going to pretend to understand that exactly. Very healthy looking soybeans out here. We will probably be pleased with our yield. I don't know if this replant is going to drag us down, but this is phenomenal farm ground. Drummer Flanagan soil across this whole farm. Some of the best ground in the world, in my opinion, to farm. It is relatively dry though out here. Here's where the sprayer ran. Usually when I'm out in a field like this, I walk where the sprayer ran because these 15-inch rows can be a little bit of a challenge to walk through. I don't imagine this will be the first farm we cut, but these 3-1 beans will be on the top of the docket for us. I have seen some beans around, probably 3-0s in the area that have already turned yellow. Won't be long, folks. Central Illinois will be cutting soybeans and picking corn. I always enjoy coming over here to God's country. Shout out to my buddy Tice, his farming operations right over there where those grain bins are. He knows he's got the best ground in the world. Look at this crack. You could literally lose something in there. The John Deere tech was out here this morning. It was the Draper speed sensor on the main motor. Ended up being a $500 part plus labor, but we shouldn't have any problems now. So we're gonna unhook this. I think we got a rain coming in. You know your barn's not big enough when you have to move equipment every time you want to get something out. Kind of hoping that's rain over there. This is guaranteed to make you sneeze. It's like dryer lint, but it's soybean dust. Oh man, I feel one coming now. I have taken a legger later. Shuffling. Move the old tin wheeler out of the way. Jeez, someone was jamming out. It's blocking us from getting what we really want. Just a plow. Let's go find a ripper. I'd hate to be rained out, but I actually wouldn't mind it at all. I'm the only person here who likes to drive closer to the steering wheel. Let's guide this in. We may have to change a few of the points here. They're pivotal to the earth moving aspect of this implement. This one's newer than our other one. It's got this hydraulic downforce basket on the back. Leaves the soil in pretty level condition after we're done. You can almost no-till in it if you wanted to. Right inside tire looks a little low. This seems to happen a lot. We haven't made much progress on it.
You haven't.
Oh, and you've made more than me?
Yeah, I've been getting to them.
Uh-oh. I just got a good bite on it.
I got one piece off.
I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy. Changing some of the points on these. They're not exactly precision instruments, but when they do get worn out, they don't dig into the ground as well. But those are $100 points, so I'm usually hesitant to change them. We got a runner! Remember how that went on there. We should have done this from the start, Dad. Now we know, I guess.
200 pounds.
Is that 200 pound of force plus some? I guess that's the trick to that. That's definitely not the right size, Jeff. Probably a metric.
That's what I figured.
There's too much play in that. Got one tractor in the way of this chisel plow. If I'm not fast enough, I'll get run over here. Hate to ruin these. Long with the exact merge. Fingers crossed, no flat tires. It's a miracle. Must be our lucky day if we got 4 mainframe tires with full air. This chisel plow is quite a bit older than our other one. It may take a little bit more effort to service it. Let's put this back in before it gets too much of a bath. Squared away. Sweet dreams. Service time. Lights are on. Classic Marty. They did a very poor job squaring up this sticker. It's got like an angle. Maybe that was by design? Oh, I need some new turf. Never quite sure where he's going to unhook something at. We'll spend the next few weeks sitting outside just like the corn heads while we wait on harvest to come. The corn heads will see action way before these chisel plows do. Onward! We were changing points when we noticed one of our main bolts here is twisted the nut off the end.
I knew I didn't want to do this today.
Right there at the fitting. Might just be loose. Minor oil leak right there.
Give me a 7/8.
We figured this tire had had its better days at this point. Got to put air in the right front leveling tire. It's too far away for our air hose too much. Field ready. I just dropped my water bottle off the back of the truck. That's chalk for this harvest. We've had a good ride. I've had this one for a couple of years. Pouring out for my homies. I think that rain's coming this way. Working on those chisel plows was surprisingly messy, much more so than the corn heads and the drapers combined. I don't know if it's just because we didn't clean them off very good last fall or they're covered in oil or what, but I'm gonna need a good shower tonight. I don't know that that's $1 million rain because it's too late in the season to really acquaint it to that. That rain would be a big difference maker for these late planted beans and may even help some of our earlier planted beans finish out the season with some good test weight in our seeds. You can hear it come across the farm right now. See you guys tomorrow. Yes! This is what we needed! Come on, inch of rain, baby. Got a nice and easy half-inch rain overnight. Hopefully that helps our crop a little bit here at the end. Today we're taking a look at the grain cart, or the auger wagon, or the auger cart, depending on what you want to call it. It was brand new last harvest season, and this part, which held the extended spout arm on, ended up breaking off, clean off of the piece of metal. We've already taken that off in advance. We're gonna have to use a welder here, that way we can reattach this and use the extended spout arm. We could probably run without it, but it's awfully convenient. It gives you a little bit more reach in the cart. This is the tractor that was on that older chisel plow. We're putting it back in. We got the chisel plow unhooked over there in the yard. We're waiting to see on this part if J&M is going to warranty the outer part of the slide or if we're going to have to take it to a welding shop. Either way, we should have an answer in the next week or so. If not, it's probably going to be welded. We'll also have to straighten out that piece a little bit. The welding, though, that's a job for professional. We're not the best welders and we don't have the nicest equipment to do that. I'm not sure if it's the rain or because we're so far along on our checklist for harvest preparation, but kind of a slow day out here. And very dreary. Hoping to see some sunshine to finish out this crop. The end is near for this 80-acre field of 31 A95 Pioneer soybeans. They're a new extend variety, and I think they're going to be pretty good. Had a little bit of late season water hemp pressure out here on the pond, just because it's unavoidable when you have soybeans so stunted, just from continuous water damage. Looking good though. I think I see some 100 bushel lean out there in the field. Right next to our 3-1 soybeans is a very interesting crop. Does anyone know off the top of their head what these are? Illinois is the #1 producing state of this commodity. Guesses please. Well, this may be a giveaway. Pumpkins. Got a field of pumpkins next to us. They've come out here multiple times this season and mulched this outside area of the field because pumpkins grow on vines and the pumpkin vines grow into our soybean fields. We got a monster pumpkin in our soybean field. I don't think the separator on the combine is going to enjoy those, so we will have to walk this at the end and get our pumpkins. Look at this! Look at our pumpkin! I don't know how you gauge the ripeness of a pumpkin field. These pumpkins are not for recreational purposes, they're actually for food. I think they'll harvest them and then take them over to Morton, I would imagine, which is the pumpkin capital of the world, and process them. They're 20 foot out in the field there. That's insane. They just keep vining. Looks like this hybrid's for the birds. Get it? This is almost exactly what you'd want to see in your corn as it reaches the end of its life. Green in the stalks and browning in the ears. These green plants right here tell you two things. One, this corn did not run out of nitrogen. Nitrogen is king for growing big corn crops. If you do not feed your corn with adequate amount of nitrogen in the spring, in the fall, whenever you apply it, you're gonna run out and not be able to produce ears of this size. Two, it's indicative that disease has not taken over this plant. Some degree of disease pressure is always going to be expected. You're not going to have perfectly clean leaves and ears all across the field. If you can have the majority of your plants with a healthy looking green at the end of their life, you're in good standing. When you see the ear reach the end of its life cycle on a green plant, that means that the plant is drying down, not dying down. That's your goal in corn production. You want your plant to reach the end of that race at a full sprint. Now this plant isn't really focusing on anything. Rather, we're waiting for Mother Nature, the temperature, the air to dry out our corn, and we're gonna come out here and harvest it in a couple weeks. I am extremely excited to see how this corn turns out. In the next few days, the Coles County Farm Bureau, my home county, is going to be doing their annual yield tour. So I'll give you some kind of display about those numbers in the next few days to show exactly what kind of crop we're expecting here in Coles County. Coles County, although a lot of good quality farm ground, does have some marginal soils. It won't be the highest averaging county in the state, but we will have solid numbers. We usually do year after year after year. Speaking of Central Illinois, the National Agricultural Statistical Service released its average cash rent per county the other day, and there's some very interesting detail that shows you exactly the productivity of Illinois soil in relationship to the average cash rents of the county. The map does a very good job of showing you where the highest economic productivity is in farm ground in Illinois. Most of it's centralized around Macon County, which has the highest at $294 an acre cash rent per year on average. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Macon and the surrounding counties are so high for two reasons. One, it is some of the most productive soil in the state, and two, Macon is home to Decatur, Illinois. There's a massive amount of corn and soybeans processed in Decatur at ADM and Tate & Lyle. I couldn't even begin to tell you how many different byproducts are produced out of these plants, but they are processing thousands and thousands of bushels per hour. The financial advantage of this for farmers in the area is that the local basis on crops is usually much more friendly than surrounding counties. These processors in Decatur offer a much more positive basis or bid for their corn and soybeans than surrounding areas because they eliminate the middleman. I will say, for those of you who are unfamiliar with farming, these numbers may seem very expensive. Based on my knowledge though, these cash rents are lower than average. If you went to market in Macon County and got $294 an acre for your farm ground, you're probably getting shortchanged. I would say that you're not going to find ground up for competitive rent in Macon County for anything under $350 an acre, and you may even see $400 an acre if a farmer is aggressive enough to get it. That's probably enough farming for one video though. As always, I really appreciate you guys tuning in. Like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you want to see more, and comment if you have any questions. And we did reach 5,000 subscribers, as I said in the beginning of the video. So in the next few weeks, I'm going to be putting together the best and the baddest equipment tour you've ever seen. Have a great night. Peace!